Hey, Skiba News Nation family. Welcome, Jake. Welcome, Opa. I hope everybody's doing well.
Hey, hey, howdy, hey.
Hey guys.
What's been going on?
Uh, a lot of stuff's been going on
What, in the world or with you?
everywhere.
That's true. That's true.
A lot of stuff has been going on. Same here. It's kind of like, what do you say nowadays? Like, should you bring up the fact that like aliens are spitting missiles out, or should you bring
In your
up that people are? I mean, I think it's just crazy, and now it's almost like hard to talk about normal things because then you feel like you're not using your time efficiently. You know what I mean? Like it's like you have to squeeze in the latest earth-shattering, terrible truth, right?
Yeah.
But hey, I think we got some stuff this week that both entertaining and interesting, and we're going to cover some of the stuff that everybody else is covering, of course. However, I think you guys will appreciate our special little like perspective on it because I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going around talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting. And Opa, I know you have some clips that are going to talk about just the overarching conspiracy that was coming around the first few days after the shooting, because it really seemed like, man, this was a professional hit, really.
Yep. For
Yeah.
sure. You would. Oh, go ahead, Opa. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
No, you first. You first.
Well, I was going to say that, over the weekend, there has been a lot of activity on the internet regarding Charlie Kirk and the alleged killer Tyler Robinson. And all this information has either been fake or AI generated or opinionated or politically motivated or true. And it's been very difficult to filter out and find out actually what the truth has been. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
That's for sure. I mean, some of the crazy things, I don't know if I guess we're probably going to talk about it, but like the book one really freaked me out because it's impossible to describe. You know what I'm talking about?
Hopefully it'll be on one of my clips.
Awesome.
We'll cover it. There's also a hilarious clip that I got of the left has gone so far left that their logic has logicked themselves back into a conservative perspective, just in a funny way. So it's one of the funniest things I've seen this week. So we're gonna keep it light in parts of this. So don't worry, everybody. There's going to be things that are not so heavy on the heart, honestly. But before we get into Charlie Kirk, which there's actually a lot of positive out of it, by the way. There's revivals spreading across the nation. There's thousands of chapters cropping up of people trying to honor the memory of Charlie Kirk and what he represented for free speech and open discourse. And some of us are like learning posthumously kind of what this guy actually even represented. And it's even a melancholy thought to think about, what we are going to miss in the future with somebody like that taken out. But this past Friday during the live stream, me and Ancient Path Revivals, a couple hip hop groups, and Simply Prodigal, we were out in downtown Missouri. And I wanted to show you guys like actual on the ground footage to show you kind of the vibe. So it was pretty cool. We had a really good time. And there were so many people, showing up for the late night there. And people were driving up going, "Hey, is this the Charlie Kirk Memorial?" Before I spin you we were jamming, vibing in the park.
one. You've escaped the second death. Place a crown upon his head. Power over nations, just a synagogue at your feet. Written in the book of life, you'll be welcome to the VAs.
All right, so if you like music, you know, that was just a little bit of Simply Prodigal down at the park, but we got to have an awesome artist at TrutherCon this year. And Bryson just like 8 or 9 days ago dropped this new music video. I wanted to show a clip of it for people who weren't familiar with his work. He is going to be performing at the end of TrutherCon.
Yeah.
Numbers, send them Ted cars on the line. Redo the ride me, don't worship stars in the sky. When you lukewarm, you gon' make God vomit. Yoga, that's just Brahmin worship, that's demonic. Astrology and them horoscopes, that's demonic. Tryna mix that with my Lord, that make you a false prophet. Basing who you did on zodiac signs, you need to stop it. You're not gonna find peace and crystals, but I know who got it.
Okay, so I totally grabbed just a random clip. And I just so happened to clip a part of his song, which he was singing about the same exact Bible verse that I sang about in my song. Just totally random chance tonight that happened. That's funny.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyways,
it's meant to be. It's meant to be, dude. And I will say, your song, I feel like I filmed the best ever.
Yes.
For your
Beartaria 2024, man. Oh man,
that was fun.
Yeah, so guys, make sure whether you're there for Bryson Gray, for some awesome music and hanging out, for some amazing mind-altering just revelations as wise men and researchers and teachers come together, condense their best of the best, and present to you what they think is necessary for today. You know, what is the truth that you need to hear today? And not only that, we're going to have speaker panels so you guys can ask questions to these people who are going to be presenting various topics. So nothing is beyond reproach, right? Truth does not fear investigation. And every single thing you guys hear, you guys can ask directly and have back and forth engagement, just much like Charlie Kirk. If you think about it, Jeremiah, that open discourse of nothing bars held, right? And this is going to go into a whole bunch of different topics, conspiracies. We're going to have Bryson Gray performing. We might have some other surprises for you guys. I don't know, but because I want to get people excited, we're getting near on a month away. You know, it's at the end of October. Get your tickets now. We want to go
through
the various speakers that we're going to have presented. You know, we're going to have Lucas Cameron. We've been on his show numerous times. Great bro, 7 Trumpets prepper. He's always been a supporter and really a friend of Skiba News Nation. And I just want people to know how much we appreciate this guy. But on his own merit, he built a channel investigating the truth and diving into the scriptures and questioning the realm we live in. And he's such a cool guy on his own. He's going to have some amazing points and truths to drop for us. We have Gary Wayne. I've worked with Gary Wayne over the years numerous times. We've done interviews with millions of views, things that were posted on Now You See TV, things that we did here on Skiba News Nation. He is one of the experts in terms of just esoteric, Gnostic scriptures, ancient Bible, all of these things that reveal this narrative of blood rituals, blood like lines, blood, whatever, right? He's got it all down. He's the guy who understands how to explain the Illuminati to you in a way that's not sounding crazy. So you guys definitely want to catch Gary Wayne, not to mention, you know, his support of the biblical narrative and conclusion. You know, it all comes together because it's not just the Illuminati that are making conspiracies or, the CIA creating the term when JFK got shot. The Bible itself is a book of conspiracies. If you think about it, there's a scripture that says the kings of the earth conspire together against the Lord and his anointed. So there also is going to be Dave Weiss. Now, this is one of the most prolific flat earth explainers, investigators. He has gone on Alex Jones' show. He's good buddies with Owen Benjamin. He's talked with Eddie Bravo. All these different guys.
Roseanne Barr.
Yeah, it's amazing his reach in terms of questioning the cosmology that we've been presented. And now I'm not trying to scare off people that don't believe in flat Earth. And I want to say, listen, truth doesn't fear investigation. And so if you guys think the Earth could never be considered flat, or what is this guy even going to talk about? He's going to just pull nonsense out. I'm going to call him out. Well, come on. Dave would love to hear your questions. That's exactly what we want. So
question him.
Now we're going to have Dave. He's got some fantastic presentations ready for us. And we're going to go into also the music industry. Really cool. We have such a great performer, Bryson Gray, an independent artist who just recently surpassed Taylor Swift on Instagram, like Reel sounds, I think. It was really cool. But this brother Theo, we interviewed him very, very early in the days of Skiba News Nation. He had some amazing revelations as to the underworkings of the occult in the music industry, how music has been used to taint and twist and distort our generations and push agendas. Brother Theo at Unplug 'Em, man, he's just going to bring a perspective, his relationship, going back to some of the guys that were buddies with Eminem back in the day, Proof, and just his testimony. So amazing. So we're very blessed and excited that he's going to be joining us. And we also have Jeremiah Skiba.
That dude, I don't really know what to think about him, But I'm going to be discussing JFK and where the fatal shot came from, since we'll be in Dallas. The first time the word conspiracy theory was used to demonize people like us was in Dallas, Texas. And Opa's actually helping me put together the presentation, which is pretty cool. So it should be Jeremiah Skiba and Opa. But yeah.
Now, just remember, Opa, everybody loved Rob's presentations because they were so multimedia and interactive. Like, he'd have those funny memes and zippity doo-dahs and everything. So, that I'm just giving you guys that tip as you prepare. That's what made Rob so successful. Everybody loved his little funny clip here and there. So,
I'm going to present it. I'm going to present my evidence as if I am a trial attorney and I am a prosecutor, and I'm going to prove my case. So I have props, I have things that prove my point. And so, it's going to be pretty epic.
Oh, bro, I love that so much. You know why? Because that's exactly how your mom wrote her book. And it's like almost like a callback to that. That's beautiful, dude. I love that.
Appreciate it. Yep. I mean, they both wanted to do something like Truth or Con for the longest time, and I'm so blessed we're able to do that now. So,
well, we're also going to have Josh Keefe, founded Earth Brothers. We've discussed with him recently on his show Truth or Con, and they've come on and done an interview with us. They're going to be talking on biblical creationism. They're going to be talking, cosmology, all the different, other deceptions tied into, why maybe this world is being lied about in terms of evolution, in terms of just the age that they tell us, the cover-ups of bones and all this stuff, all within the realm that Josh is likely going to be talking about. And for those who are watching, we're going to be releasing the schedule hopefully this week. And so you're going to have a good month in advance to see kind of the order and schedule of events, get ready and plan your day out. And if last minute you want to get a VIP ticket, you're going to get some nice meals and some fun time to go out there and actually check out maybe the place JFK actually was shot with Jeremiah in person. So that there's going to be a lot of different fun little activities and opportunities, but just coming and being there, just if you're on the fence, go ahead and get your ticket right now. And just think about whenever you get to meet all these people and hear all these different speakers, just the conversation that's going to be stirred up in the conference venue, like the things that people are going to be bringing forward, especially considering what's happening now with Turning Point USA and this crazy time. Oh yeah, last but not least, here we got Mikey Jenny from Candid Truth, and he's going to be presenting. He also dives into media and how cartoons and TV and movies, they distort your mind and control us and our children. And also a good bro, biblically founded, based in his faith. And so, man, something has I had one more thing I wanted to show here. Just wanted to go through the event and ticket details. So children under 13 get in free. We want this to be easy for people that have families. So that's, obviously they're probably not even going to care about what's going on. So if they want to show up and hang out, you're all good. And also vendors, we're super, super looking for cool booths and vendors that are themed around truther, conspiracy, oddities. So please contact us, use our website form on truthercon.com and sign up, because if you show up and, you have merchandise and you think, our audiences of all of these speakers and people interested in these topics might, want to, see what you got for sale, we'd love to have you. But anyways, I think it's time to carry on to the evening's news. 32,000 plus Turning Point USA has been flooded with chapter requests, right? That's 32,000 people who are wanting to start their own group, Turning Point group, to then do, events and go places and on college campuses, be involved, plug in. And not only that, but like just within like the past week, his follower counts nearly, times 10, times 20'd. Pretty crazy, the impact of martyrdom, if you think about it. Like, I mean, that's exactly what a situation like that makes me think of, when somebody is assassinated in the midst of doing something that's supposed to be positive and constructive. So Opa has some interesting conspiratorial videos that we're going to check out, and then I'm going to get into some other like lesser known coinkydinks with the shooting, but also some interesting footage from Benny Johnson, who's covering revivals happening all across the nations as churches are getting packed once again. Reminds me much of what happened right after 9/11 back in 2001. You remember after 9/11, thousands were cramming the churches. People were getting close to God and country again.
Yep.
Well, it just might be that this was the event to help us forget the last one. So here we go. Opa, let's get into your videos.
All right. Well, let me make a mention here. I'm sure everybody or most people know that this coming Thursday is when they're going to have a memorial for Charlie Kirk, and it will be in the Arizona NFL football stadium, which will hold a bunch of people. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people show up, but I really feel certain they're going to fill that thing up. Okay, so this first video that I have here has been out. It actually came out, I think, the day after Wednesday, after the tragedy happened. And it has to do with strange signals, basically. So let's take a look at this.
Been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
It's 5. Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not? Not counting gang
Leaves.
violence.
Great.
Why were Charlie Kirk's bodyguards flashing strange hand signals moments before the fatal shot was fired? New footage shows members of Kirk's security team adjusting caps, moving arms, and scanning the crowd just seconds before the assassination at Utah Valley University. A veteran security consultant confirmed these were deliberate signals, not random gestures. He says the team appeared to be silently checking in with one another, a standard security measure, but the timing has fueled a storm of speculation online.
Note, these are not random movements made during the last moments of Charlie Kirk, but signs that our country has all of our lives on a timer, and when it goes off, they will make sure we cannot run. People were terrified after haunting security footage of Charlie Kirk just moments before the attack showed Charlie's alleged security team doing very strange movements, like moving away from him, moving their phone, and gesturing a punch seemingly to someone right before the pew sounds were heard. Many facial experts were even comparing the security guard who did the gesture to allegedly be the same one as the one that was present during the president's former attack, alleging they might have been communicating. As for some reason, our president was one of the first to know about the attack before big media sites, as well as the first to know that Charlie Kirk was gone. And then even a random old man was found yelling that he was the one to attack Charlie, to only right after questionings authorities realized he was not the one, giving the real perp a lot of time to get away. But it gets stranger as a 101-page book was published on Amazon the day before, detailing how Charlie will go, only for the published date to later be publicly changed to the day after, while it still said the day before in the metadata, to then the listing being taken down altogether. But these can be coincidences.
All right, so what do you guys think about that?
I think it's very suspicious, and you know, I'm glad everybody is taking a magnifying glass and really looking at everything that happened around them. And yeah, I think it's super odd, the fact that both of them did hand signals. Because if you look at the, I don't recommend watching the video because it'll really put you in a bad mood and make you sad and stuff. But if you look at it from head on, they are kind of off to each side, right?
Well, they're off to the right. They're off to the right.
So it would make, I mean, they're both viewable from the perch, if you will.
Correct. Correct.
And so them signaling that is kind of like, hey, he's going to pick up the mic and then he's going to put it down. And then when he rolls the sleeves up, that's when, you know, the second sleeve, and then you hear the shot. So quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it is the best conspiratorial person, you know, that, you know, always looks at things like that and is like, oh, were they signaling the shooter or were they signaling each other, right? But they likely are just a security team, likely were just kind of, you know, doing their, you know, back and forth, whether it was a code or not.
Right.
But man, you know, as Opa pulled that up, just because I've seen the footage, like I in real time experienced that trauma, like stress effect as you were looking at it, like, because I knew when he got shot as soon as he says that line, right? And so I was like nervous that it was going to show the footage. And so it caused this anxiety real time. Like as we're watching, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to watch it again. And man, isn't that crazy? It's just like we all are experiencing this like horror together. It's so sad.
Yep.
Well, and you know, the crazy part is Lindsay she brought this up, but every social media platform just had that video available. It didn't break their community guidelines. Why didn't that video break their community guidelines? Yet we could say something about I don't know, just anything, and they don't like it, they'll take it down. They'll give us a community guideline strike. So it's just crazy that that clip was available on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere you looked, it was there, which is sick. It's a public execution.
Yeah, I've actually seen videos where they supposedly show the bullet in the frame where they've done stop action and show the bullet, which I believe is AI, because there is absolutely no way with cell phones and stuff like that it has enough resolution and enough frame rate to be able to capture the bullet traveling at 3,000 miles per hour or however fast they travel. So I think there's a lot of AI generated stuff out there too, but
that's for sure.
Yeah. Did they didn't capture Trump's bullet whiz by him?
They did in a still photograph where, you know, you can still see it online, but I think the still photograph makes more sense because it's a snapshot in time, and then video.
And they accidentally caught it right at that moment.
Yeah, right after it passed his head. It's a pretty crazy photo.
But this one was supposedly taken from a frame of the video, which I like I say, it's the odds of that happening are extremely rare.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was going in the wrong direction anyway. So,
yeah.
All right, this next video I have actually is a Fox News report that basically is talking about who is Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter. And let's take a listen to see the kind of things that they've just uncovered, so to speak.
I just want to find out more, give everybody an idea of who Tyler Robinson is. I don't want to make him famous, but I think it's important we find out, we let you know who he is and what led to this moment. I mean, first off, we find out that he's 22 years old. And we see video online before they were able to take it down of this guy's grades. His ACT, SATs, literally perfect. His grades in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, off the charts, great. He reads on camera a letter that says you basically have a $32,000 scholarship to go to a school. So you think this guy's heading towards a scholarly life. They said he was quiet. But he had friends in high school. Well, something went wrong. Can you imagine the smartest guy you know only lasting a semester in school and then ends up at a technical school? And there's nothing wrong with the technical school. But when you have a person who's a brainiac, who's diving into the books, gets a perfect score on reading, you don't think he's going to be an electrician, and ends up moving 10 minutes from his house. 10 minutes from his house, an apartment. He lived with a roommate, and we got to look into the roommate. That he almost never left. In fact, the neighbors said he only came in and out, would never say hello. So what else can you tell him? No criminal record. No one saw anything about him. But we did hear about some unbalanced talk about his political leanings. The family and friends said he became more and more political and angry in recent years. Also, an interesting anecdote today.
Hey, I'm sorry. I have to pause it. Do you see them literally in front of a conspiracy pegboard right now on Fox News?
Yep.
Look at this, guys. Like, Fox News has now devolved to the conspiracy pegboard gentleman. Can somebody please get that meme? Where's the meme?
I have no idea. You're talking about the one with from
oh my goodness.
It's Always Sunny?
Here, yeah, I got it. Oh my, it's so blatant. It's like they're purposely. Let's see. Yeah. Now look.
When the whole Benghazi thing came up, you watched here, and there's so many questions.
And now this is the meme. Do you guys see it?
Pretty right on. Suit and everything.
Yeah, wow.
Evidently,
all right.
He would blow his friends away. I think he was in 8th and 9th grade with how much he knew and the conspiracies that were out there.
He blew his friends all right.
And his friends said, how does this guy know all this? Well, he's online and he's gaming and he loved Call of Duty. And I know a lot of you out there love it and you don't go kill people. I understand it. But if you want to know how a guy can be desensitized to kill for the first time and not think it's a big deal to put someone in the crosshairs, pull the trigger and execute him, maybe because they did it a zillion times online and he wasn't discerning enough to understand what reality was and what it isn't. Reportedly talked to disparaging terms at the dinner table. This is of late. He talks about President Trump, not good, but he really hated Charlie Kirk. Upset that he's going to be at a local school, I guess when the Pottingham plan took place. I want to know what the roommate knew. He looks to be another gamer, understood Discord. It's a gaming site where they communicated regularly. What did this guy know? How did he know about the exchange to show to the FBI when they walked in? He registered to vote. He's got no party affiliation. Everyone said he's a Trumper. That was not true. And the bullet casings, among the phrases he used, were "hey fascist, catch."
I do want to get back to the latest here on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk as we continue to learn.
Why do they keep saying it like that?
Brooke Singman over at Fox Digital posting this a short time ago saying exclusive. Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson lived with his transgender partner, according to sources. The individual, who is a male transitioning to a female, is fully cooperating with the FBI. Sources tell me the FBI had texts and other communications between Robinson and the individual that helped FBI authorities solidify that Robinson was indeed the shooter. Again, Robinson has been named the suspect and is in custody. The last question Charlie Kirk answered before he was murdered was, quote, "Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, quote, "Too many." He was then asked, quote, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, quote, "Counting or not counting gang violence." Charlie was then assassinated. Again, those details there coming from Brooke Singman over at Fox.
Good point, Candid Truth.
All right.
What's up, brother?
Yeah, he said, crazy how both shooters of these events just happened to write their manifestos on the bullets, like a bad movie.
Yep.
I think that's our friend Mikey, isn't it?
Yep.
So, buddy.
And the okay, so a couple of the points that I saw in this video were that he was a registered voter, but he registered as not as a Republican or a Democrat, but as basically non-affiliated. And he didn't vote. He had never voted, even though he was registered. He never voted.
Did he happen to register as a lethal weapon?
I don't know about that.
That's what I heard.
Right. And then, of course, the very last thing is that I think it was like Saturday, the news outlets and everything found out that his roommate, they lived in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment or house or something like that. But his roommate, who I can't remember his first name, but I think it was Trags or something like that, was transitioning from a male to a female. And the fact that the shot rang out right during the transgender discussions is kind of curious.
Wow. Yeah. Why is this consistent pattern coming up where we're seeing trans shooters, I mean, related in some way? I mean, he wasn't, but his roommate was, that he was in some type of relationship with, allegedly. Yeah. You know, it's very, very strange. I did see the gentleman that was the last person speaking with him, who was questioning him at the moment he was shot, was actually a YouTuber who's gone regularly to Charlie Kirk events and had prepared a statistic answer conundrum for Charlie, trying to prove that when you do the numbers, trans people are less violent in terms of their overall population. Like, he was trying to do some kind of thing, and Channel 5 News actually did an exclusive interview with him, like 45 minutes long. It's very interesting just watching this guy who came as an opponent to Charlie in the midst of this conservative atmosphere, and then like experienced that moment of him being shot right in front of him. And the way he described that, I want you guys to maybe just hear or see how he describes the experiences. He goes, "The moment Charlie shot, I dropped down terrified, but something in the back of my head said, they already got him. I'm safe." And he did that in the interview with Channel 5 News, you know, paraphrasing his statement, of course. But you guys should check that interview out. Very interesting.
You can tell it really messed him up too.
Yeah. Well, the word is right now that he is not cooperating with the authorities and has not confessed to actually carrying out the shooting. So that was a little bit of interesting news. Another thing is that he has stated to various people something similar to, "My doppelganger is trying to get me into trouble." So I don't know if he's saying that in a jovial way, saying, "Oh, my doppelganger did it," you know, or whether
mentally ill way, for sure.
Yeah, maybe he could be, you know, bipolar, or, you know, whatever you say, have 2 personalities or what have you.
Yeah.
if I can share my own opinion, I mean, is it fair to say that most trans people have a mental illness? I don't know. I'm just asking a question. That's it.
So
I don't know.
So this little segment that we're about to talk about right now is the kind of stuff that through interviewing guys like Tom O'Neill, who wrote one of the best-selling books regarding, topics like MK Ultra and how these things like Manson are used, these shooters, these assassinations. Now listen carefully, because this is depthy, right? Whenever something happens, a legal precedent is set in the reaction to whatever the offense was. And so in the case of situations like Manson, right, you have a charismatic musical leader of a community, whatever, then being pegged with responsibility, though he did not himself kill in that trial the people, he was blamed for conspiracy to convince others through his ideology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you have here is a consistent pattern with mental health issues and shooters. And this has been directly proven. I mean, most, if not like the majority of them, then a lot of them were all on prescription, medications throughout the past years. It's been a proven thing that most of these people that go and shoot up places are dealing with mental instability, and then they're on pharmaceutical drugs that likely allow them to continue functioning in their crazy somehow. But nobody talks about the pharmaceutical connection because there's too much money to lose, right? However, think about the precedents that's set. If so much action is being turned and taken to address people with mental health issues that likely could in the future fall into a category of more susceptible to becoming these troubled individuals that act out on their troubled thoughts. Well, who then defines the mental health that is dangerous versus not? Because we have to understand that the bullwhip effect allows the Hegelian dialectic thing to work, right? Whenever it's a problem, reaction, solution. And that's what Hegelian dialectic means. And so whenever you see things like this, where everybody's chanting, we got to stop these mentally unhealthy trans shooters, whatever, everybody can agree, at least, I would say people with common sense would agree, but it's not so common anymore, that, believing you can transition genders, and be a girl when you're a boy, right? If people can look at that as the far extreme, and that becomes dangerous, people that have mental health issues, they become a target for whatever. And what I'm trying to say is, in a long-about way, it's a very important topic, how we deal with this, because in other administrations, during Biden's administration, for example, there was stuff being passed that was identifying extreme conservatism as like a type of mental illness almost, and various things like that. And now, while the party system has switched, anyways.
Good points.
So here's one I wanted to bring out. This one is very humorous. It's how gun control has gone full circle in the mind of liberal America and people who are against the Second Amendment. So check this one out.
People kill people. Okay, in that case, bread doesn't make sandwiches, people make sandwiches. Cars don't drive people to work, people drive people to work.
All right, she's not done. She's got more. Let's see if her logic ever makes any sense. Watch.
Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Then why is it always a gun? Why is it every time I hear it on the news, it's a gun? How come it's never a bow and arrow, or a crossbow, or a slingshot, or, I don't know, a knife? You guys love to bring up knives. How come no one's going into school with a bow and arrow or a knife? Why is it always a gun? If the problem is the person and not the weapon, how come the person keeps changing, but the weapon stays the same?
Well, Robin Hood called. He'd like his technology back. Listen, I would love to go along with you, honey, but people are going to find a way to be evil to each other no matter what they use. And yes, historically, they have used all of those things. But, yep, you just proved the point. It's still the people. They're out there, folks. Trust me. They're out there.
So it's like the logic has gone so full circle. It's like, you're telling me guns don't kill people, people kill people. And it's like so inverted. It shows like almost like how the mindsets are polarized against each other. And I think that was interesting to me, because you hear us argue that way on the other side of the equation, which is guns don't actually kill people. It takes a bad guy to shoot the gun, right? And good people with guns can stop people from shooting other people with guns, right? And anyways, it's very interesting. What did you guys think about that one?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, you were right on about them. It sounded like they switched sides or switched parties or whatever, but just to argue, kind of.
Yeah. All right, guys, I wanted to start it light with the funny little video there as we get back into some of the conspiracy around it. But check this out. These things, little things that happened on the day of the shooting, allegedly point to September 23rd in some cryptic way. Check this out. So he just had started calling out Thailand and all these I think. Oh, yeah, this guy.
Can you turn it down a little bit? There we go. Now we can hear you. I can't believe that dude.
I think a lot of people, both men and women, they're kind of
Right on. Okay, so why is it? I thought that was interesting. The time that he was shot, according to that video, if you saw, very quickly passed by. But in the U.S., allegedly, the time that he was shot was 9:23 in Israel, and then you had the first published news article coming from the Jerusalem Post before anybody else. And then you have that book topic, Jeremiah. I know you were discussing that.
Yeah, I saw Alex Jones talking about it. And what I found interesting about the Alex Jones clip, though, was this is completely off topic, but he kept saying, I have verified that this is real, and Grok has verified that this is real. And he said that several times about several different things that he was talking about in that video, as if Grok was, you know, all knowing, if that makes sense. And I thought that was interesting. But
yeah,
yep. I was gonna say, you know, any of these AI things like Chat GPT and Grok and all these things, they have a condition where they call it hallucination. And basically what it is that it comes out with statements of fact that are absolutely not fact and are false. And I think Chat GPT has just recently said, you know, hey, we've got a big problem here and we're trying to fix it about these hallucination things. So it's basically the algorithms they use. If it can't find an answer, then it makes up one.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're on the eve of the biblical feasts. Now, your dad always would love to talk about the likely birth time frame of Yeshua being around the Feast of Trumpets. And we know that there's an immense amount of eschatological, like end times things tied to the fall feasts. And so this September 23rd is when the Feast of Trumpets is, at least when I calculate it, we're going to be keeping it, I think, that evening. But there's some really interesting world events happening on September 23rd in terms of some UN decisions, some two-state solution discussions. There were also, that scene we saw where there was a 9/23 reference in the shooting. The exact time in Israel that he was shot was that time. So check out this clip.
We have a lot of good 6 months left. We're going to have a 6 and another 6 and another 6. So we'll keep going. And we're going to really do something.
The words 911 in simple gematria equal 110. Simple gematria is the foundation for gematria. Each letter just equals its position. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, and so on. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center each had 110 stories. Wow. So 911 equals 110. And both Twin Towers had 110 stories each. So somebody had asked me, because I did a calculation from 9/11, 9/11 to the Feast of Trumpets this year. And the number was, the day count is 8,778, 8778. And when you go to Matthew 24:36, the verse that no man knows the day or the hour, the return of Jesus, only the Father in heaven, and you add it to itself backwards, 24:36, plus itself backwards, its reflection, you get that number, 8778. The exact day count from 9/11, 2001, Feast of Trumpets, 2025. I mean, so somebody asked me, well, what's the significance of 9/11 and why would you start from there concerning the rapture? What's the connection? So I wanted to talk about that for a minute. If you look on the screen here, you can see the two black cube bottomless pits that they put at ground zero, where the Twin Towers were. And how this is connected to the Bible is Revelation chapter 9, starting at verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. Just like the black cube bottomless pits they put at.
Okay, that guy had some the interesting time separation that he derived from simple gematria calculation, but he got into the weeds a little bit for me. I think this next clip will kind of bring into what we're trying to focus on 9/23 in terms of world event. Check this one out.
What I'm seeing, probably not, because social media probably isn't showing you. Russia has officially invaded NATO airspace. Finance ministers being stripped and taken out of buildings. Health ministers literally collapsing on stage. And guess what? I saved the best for last. So let's go see. Trust me, the best is coming. You cannot see what's behind me, but this is the finance minister being stripped and being yanked right out of his building. This is Nepal on fire. And don't forget all the crazy things that happened yesterday, but that's not all that's going on. Allegedly, Israel was attacking Qatar, and then this right here, pause it, go back, happened as well. We deserve the right to respond. Now look, I really try not to scare people and just to inform y'all, but even with this, I'm not trying to, but I'm telling you, you need to find Jesus. Poland fighter jets over Poland, Russian drones over Poland, NATO airspace, and complete emergency and abrupt meetings for the guy who runs the U.S. I have to say it like that. Right here, completely unrelated, really though. For real this time, UFOs deflecting Hellfire missiles. Whoa. So I guess the UFOs are now being a little bit hostile, huh? right after we have the portal. Oops, I mean eclipse. Speaking of that portal, I mean eclipse. Wait 1 second. And of course, coincidentally, today we have a Senate hearing on these UFOs again. While Three Eye Atlas is coming on Hallows Eve. And that's Samhain, by the way, if you did not know. No, the Christian church did not start Halloween. But this video is not about these UFOs. If you want to hear more about that, let me know in the comments. I will later. So wait a minute. You mean to tell me that right after we had the portal, I mean eclipse, and all that crazy stuff break out yesterday, now we have the Temple Institute declaring that the third temple is near out of all times coincidentally? Couldn't even write that better. See, I felt the situation in the air and I told you, and people were like, oh, you're fear-mongering. And last time we had the last eclipse, I said that nothing crazy was going to happen, but spiritual doors would be open and things would get a whole lot eviler. You know how many mass casualty events we've had since the last eclipse? Thousands. This right here is all the activity happening in NATO airspace right now. And all of this right now is why I share scary events, not to scare you, but to tell you to get ready.
When you walked into a bar,
yeah. So
are y'all
very interesting?
Promiscuously.
All of these events leading up to the end of the month. You know, the reason it catches my attention is this: simply for the fact that I'm starting to learn that Charlie Kirk was a Sabbath-keeping, feast-keeping, Torah-observant individual. It makes his death to me so much more relevant in terms of like what it kind of triggers in your subconscious, right? Like he represents a martyrdom. He represents this movement of people. He represents the danger of speech. Now he represents, if anybody has anything to say going here on forward, they better be really brave and, you know, basically put their life behind what they're saying, because we all have that trauma in the back of our mind now that is going to keep the cowards at bay and either the foolish or the people that actually have convictions in what they believe and speak are going to be the ones standing up and talking now. And so, you know, seeing him be killed and then seeing this lead up to the biblical feast, which he was an advocate of. He was an advocate of keeping the Sabbaths of the scripture and keeping the biblical feasts. And he had just started, I think, back in 2021. And so just, you know, I think the connection between us and that, you know, kind of ideology is interesting just because of your dad's role and, you know, the whole Ephraimite awakening research he had put out online, showing people the truths of this. He was a very much, you know, Charlie Kirk was very much in a lot of ways similar to your dad, going and publicly speaking on these topics. So, you know, that's why it hits close to home, I think. And,
you know, there's something that he had in his video there was talking about the UFO or whatever they call it, and the firing of the Hellfire missile. The one thing that I question, just wonder about, is who gave the authorization to fire that missile, because the UFO was just traveling over the ocean and it wasn't endangering anything. So why was the missile fired?
Yeah, for the UFO.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that footage. It's really crazy to see that they actually released that. Something else.
Yeah. The other thing I note, obviously, with all that's been happening this week, most of it didn't come to the forefront. It was kind of like on the back pages of the newspaper, and everything else was Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk. And so all this other stuff that was happening just disappeared, so to speak.
Yep. I mean, I will say one thing that kind of, so the last couple of days I've realized by observing, you know, other people's posts and seeing what they had to say. And I mean, this is just based on Facebook. I decided like who I know, like who should I keep as a friend and who I should unfriend. And like, if you oppose freedom, you know, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of friendship. If I can't have a discussion with you, why would I want to be friends with somebody like that? You know, so it really helped me out in that way when it comes to like seeing who's true. I mean, if you could say some of the stuff that I saw just by saying R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, it's just sick what some of the people were saying, and you know, just even saying about not just about me, but just about him, and they don't even know him. You know what I mean? It's just insane.
Yeah, it's definitely a big separation event. In previous years, I've talked about how there seems to be these tests that come on mankind every so once in a while, and it's like it splits us down the middle. Like you had back in 2016, it was Trump or Hillary, and then after that, it was V or no V, and then after that, or mask or no mask. You know, it was all these different little things that it was polarizing so much. I don't know if you guys saw this clip, but I think it's very interesting. Oh, by the way, check out this. It's elderly man stunned as daughter informs him he's gone viral as Charlie Kirk's killer. Oh, man. Yeah, Opa, you're going to have to like probably wear a mask in public. I think you kind of got the same going. I'm glad they've pegged it on the young guy now, though. So you dodged a what's it, a
bullet?
I have an alibi.
Now, yeah, you do. We're that's true. You know, did you guys see Kash Patel tell him he'll see him in Valhalla? It's really interesting. So it's like, you know, of course the US, I guess, represents a smeltering pot of religion and very Christian centric through Trump's administration. And Charlie Kirk, obviously, just like we talked about, Christian. But Kash Patel had this to say. I mean,
lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch.
I did hear this. This is weird.
Now, brother, we have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
What is that?
So Valhalla is the Norse kind of heaven that warriors go to when they die in battle. But it's definitely not, heaven. It's not the one that Charlie's going to or trying to go to, or, you know, however Kash Patel is viewing it. I think he was trying to say something heartfelt, and it sounds like something a Marvel character would say is kind of what I...
Wakanda forever. You know,
it's Nordic, Valhalla.
Norse. And I'll see you in Valhalla.
Valhalla?
Valhalla.
Yep. Valhalla.
Valhalla. Charkala.
Guys, I don't know if you've seen, I covered it in our live stream some, but it's just the breakdown in Nepal with the youth rising up over TikTok getting deleted and then them just destroying the government. Check out the clip of the officials having to be evacuated from protesters by helicopter. They didn't even have time to get in the helicopter. They just had to clip onto a rope and fly out of there Batman style. Check this out. This is the government of Nepal flying away in a helicopter. A rope is used instead of a basket to save time. A lot of people have seen footage of the finance minister being chased down the street and kicked and you know, landing in the river. Here's something very significant. While we were all paying attention to the topic of the Charlie Kirk shooting, this was just passed. The United Nations voted 142-10 in favor of endorsing the New York Declaration, which calls for the establishment of a state of Palestine. Among those alleged allies of Israel, namely India and Azerbaijan, voted in favor of creating a Palestinian state. The few who voted against the measure included Argentina, Hungary, Israel, and the United States. Buckle up. Things are about to get interesting real fast. All right, so that was happening. Let's see here. Yes. Have you guys noticed on Facebook all the crazy kind of convincing AI videos that are coming out?
Yeah.
It's getting real bad, real convincing lately.
Yeah, really bad.
Check it out.
Horror. Charlie was a patriot. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America.
That's the real video, I thought.
Liberty, democracy.
That's why I'm showing it. Because apparently this person's saying they're starting to use AI for things that they're presenting as real. And I think they zoomed in on a change here. You can see
Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved. Never been anyone who was so respected by his wife.
And it zoomed in here. I want to see it. Right. Do you think it's AI? What do you see? Do you see that change there?
Was a patriot.
I just see his palm.
I'm trying to make it out, guys. I can't tell if this is bogus or not. All right.
You know, they had.
I heard he keeps an extra finger under his hand. So I don't know.
They had a video online too that I saw that was showing Charlie Kirk. This is one where they said he wasn't shot because they show a video of him, the video where he's under the canopy and everything, and his ring. His wedding ring was on one shot was on his ring finger, and on the next shot it was on his little finger. And so they're saying this AI generated.
Also, have you seen the photo that's been going around? It's pretty sick. It's of Charlie's wife allegedly at his casket, and there's like Freemason symbolry, and everybody's like freaking out in the comments. And I'm like, guys, you can look it up. His funeral hasn't happened yet. Like, this is obviously fake. They're like, oh no, he's a Freemason. So I just stay out of those the comment sections because they get pretty crazy in there.
Wow. So you're saying that those pictures I've seen also of her bending over the casket are fake because his funeral has not happened yet?
Yes.
I almost just bought it as real because I mean, when I think about it, it's like I should have thought for a second, wait, it's way too close. And I know there's big memorials happening next weekend, so it didn't really make sense to me. I was like, well, maybe a memorial is different than him being in a casket, but man, like,
why wouldn't they show his face? Like, why, or her face or something else? Like, why is it from the back and then just the hands? You know, it really didn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, they're getting pretty convincing.
Well, on a more positive note, let's check out this Benny Johnson clip of how churches are being packed across America as Charlie Kirk is sparking a nationwide Great Awakening. It's kind of reminding me of that the revival that happened like in 2023 at that church in Kentucky. Went down and checked it out on one of the nights, and it makes me think that, you know, this could snowball into something similar. Look at this.
This week, we went through an enormous amount of Charlie Kirk interviews, podcast clips, and radio shows, and we found something remarkable, that Charlie Kirk told us how he wanted to be remembered if he died. And the answer is clear.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
I don't know if you know this, but everyone dies. It's important to remind yourself of that. That you face God, the judge, and he's going to list everything you did wrong in your life. It's going to be a long sentencing hearing for me. Well, you get justice, which is hell, because that's what we deserve. Mercy, which is less of that, which I'll allow the theologians figure out what that is. Or grace. What is grace? Grace is something so unique, so different, so profound. which is as soon as the sentencing's about to be ushered in, someone comes in and says, no, I will serve that prison sentence for him. I will go into the prison cell for him or her so that they can live forever. That's grace. You didn't earn it. You didn't check boxes for it. You didn't go park cars for a ministry and that gets you extra points to go to heaven. None of that's true. It's that it's equally accepted for all people that allow Jesus Christ to be your Savior, the Savior of the world, to be born new and to be completely and totally renewed. That's a gift that we must try to give all people.
This is what Charlie Kirk wanted to be remembered by, his faith and his evangelization of his belief and confidence in the Lord Jesus Christ. And Charlie Kirk died as he lived, proclaiming his faith in the darkest places in this country. And that's had a profound effect. And dare I say, Charlie Kirk's legacy is precisely as he predicted, chillingly. You can see so here. In this first Sunday morning since Charlie Kirk's political assassination and execution, it's backfired. The forces of evil wish to take Charlie Kirk because he was such a strong voice for truth, but this Christian martyrdom.
His martyrdom's converting OnlyFans girls, and now patriots across the country are reporting their churches are jam-packed this Sunday morning in the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing. The church was full today. Parking lot was so full, people were parking on the grass. It's a really interesting time in our country's history, getting to live through this. Unfortunately, having to experience it with all of you, the trauma of watching him be shot. But, you know, sometimes trauma and things are not always for the bad. They can also spark revival. And I think that's the other side of the equation that we always have to be cognizant of. And this is what last little clip, and I think, Jeremiah, we can get into yours, is somebody filmed this column that they believe is from the Temple of Solomon. And I just thought it was so cool. A little piece of like biblical history that might just be sitting in a museum somewhere.
Believe it or not, but what you're looking at is supposedly the same columns that stood in the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. So here we are.
I don't know. It looks kind of short to me. I feel like they would have been taller, but I'll have to do my research. You know, you're right. How can you love someone in the media you don't know? Because a lot of people are having this emotional response to Charlie Kirk's shooting. And so it's a valid point for you to bring it up. And really, I think perhaps it's what it represents. And I covered earlier the topic of how going forward, because he represented that now somebody speaking in a peaceful situation, trying to constructively engage in conversation, can be killed on the spot, that anybody else who truly has something to share with the public, that truly wants to go out and speak and do like Charlie Kirk did, that they now have that scene of him being shot playing out. So they have to overcome that fear. And so in a way, like from the kind of that side of the equation, you know, that's the fear that has to be overcome for anybody sharing something valuable in the future. It's no longer people, you know, just trying to make a few bucks by being a sophist. Now your life technically is on the line based on what this represents. And I think that's positive in a way, but I think it kind of stirs up that gladiator sacrificial memory thing for us. That's why so many vigils are happening, because he was somebody that believed with his whole heart in what he was doing, and he was taken out while he does it. And I think in a lot of ways people can relate to that, because he represents somebody that
free speech.
Yeah, he represents somebody that was actually doing his calling and doing with his utmost to the end. And people can resonate with the concept of loving not your life unto death, and, you know, doing your calling unto death. And that's why I really do think he represents like a start of the scriptural concept of, you know, the martyrdom begins. You know, people have to live and die for their faith for it to actually really be genuine if you think about it. Because, you know, what is it if you just fake it to make it, and then, you know, whenever you're put the sword, you recant or you renounce, you know. So I think that's why people are getting emotional about this, because he represents this guy that lived this beautiful life doing what he was called to do, and he was taken from us too soon. But you're right, it is interesting. Like
well, it's like Michael Jackson or Elvis. I mean, nobody knew them personally either, but there were millions of people that went to vigils and everything else because their music touched them. Just like, I mean, if I was alive in 1977, I definitely would have gone to his funeral, or Elvis's at least, just because he means a lot to me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeremiah, let's check out your clip, and then we can wrap up with some TrutherCon discussion.
Well, actually,
I've still got a few.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and play, you want to play the voicemail that we got?
Yeah, we can, but I still have 2 or 3 short ones. But let's go ahead and play the voicemail, I guess, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Maya and Jake. Shabbat Shalom.
No, let me
hey, Jeremiah and Jake. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Scott, and I just wanted you guys, if you have not seen it, to watch Stephen Ben Noon on his edition. His program is Israeli News Live on YouTube, and he shows some really interesting perspectives and video on Charlie Kirk. And it looks as if maybe Charlie Kirk was shot by a security guy that was to the right of Charlie Kirk. Because as the shot was going off, something was coming from under the guy's arm, went up, and then he stepped forward and looked to the left and then backed up and disappeared out of the frame. Anyway, I sent it. I left it in your comments, and I also just called and left you this message. And Shabbat Shalom, Jake. Hopefully myself and my wife, Tanya, will get to come out there to Missouri. We'd like to come out there and live. Anyway, you guys have a great day.
Cool. So thank you, Scott, for your input. And sounds like Jake has heard of the YouTube channel, so that's great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, we'll check it out. Thanks for letting us know.
All right, take it away.
All right. Well, I'd like to kind of lighten things up quite a bit. These are really short, but it's some news. One of them is about, you know, I've been talking about hoverboards and all kinds of, you know, trains and stuff like that. Well, here's something about no cars.
Imagine a city in the U.S. where cars are completely banned. Sounds impossible, right? Welcome to Mackinac Island, Michigan, the only place in America where cars have been illegal for over 100 years. Instead of traffic jams and honking horns, people get around by horse-drawn carriages, bicycles, and walking. The island's ban on motor vehicles keeps its historic charm alive and makes it one of the most peaceful places in the country.
A new neighborhood in Arizona where cars are prohibited is gaining popularity. The living complex is called Cul-de-sac Tempe. It has 700 apartments on 17 acres with bike and walking paths on site. And local business owners and residents say the development is making a difference in how they think about land utilization.
It's cool that something like this exists now that's right on a metro stop. There's bike infrastructure around there, bike lanes. And there's just a lot available to where you don't need a vehicle to exist.
And here's another perk. Residents of the community are even given bikes and unlimited access to the light rail as well. It's a cool concept. I like that.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I bet you with the horses, there's a lot of horse poop. Looks like we lost Jake for a second, but that's okay.
Well, all right. Yeah, so I found that quite interesting. You know, like when I lived in Europe, there's a city in Switzerland called Zermatt. And Zermatt has had no cars for hundreds of years. And the only way you could get there is they have like a cable car or a train that uses electricity, not power. and you have to park your car if you're going to want to visit there, 20 miles away or so, then take the train into it. And I've been there. That's where the Matterhorn is, and it's actually a really cool city. Okay, so the next little clip I have here is talking about policing. So let's see what is going to show here.
Korea is now using full-size holographic police officers to help fight crime. Wow, every night between 7 and 10 p.m., the cop flickers on to warn people the area is under surveillance, saying human officers will respond in real time if a crime is committed. The hologram is fully backed by Seoul police, with reported crime rates dropping roughly 22% since its installation.
City in the U.S.
Whoops, sorry. So, holographic police and crime rates drop. That's quite interesting.
It's just like a more expensive way of parking a cop car on the street corner.
Well, yeah, that's basically true. Okay, my final little clip is talking about some hidden items in some devices, which is a little bit concerning. So let's take a listen to this. Oops, let's go there.
August 20th, 2025, the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Highway Administration quietly sent out an advisory. It warned, hidden cellular radios, secret loudspeakers of data, may be secretly embedded in foreign-made inverters and batteries powering PV highway infrastructure. No names, no specific models, no clear evidence yet, just a warning, a 4-page internal memo, and the chilling possibility that devices with undisclosed communication hardware are lurking in the systems that light our roads and capture our weather. To remotely control large amounts of PV capacity, you don't need rogue devices, because many of the tools are already designed to be serviced over the internet. Yuri Sadit, cybersecurity expert. What then is different about these radios? Why does this advisory matter? Because we don't know where they are hidden. In batteries, in inverters? Because we don't know who made them or why? Because regulation is broken or unclear? Because what's unseen could be dangerous? Countries like China, India, Taiwan are already moving, tightening rules, demanding disclosure, imposing limits on how foreign parties can deploy remotely controllable energy or solar devices. But here in the US, there are warnings, vague guidance, a public that's unaware, and infrastructure that potentially holds unknown vulnerabilities. No proof yet of a smoking gun. No teardown documenting a device with illicit radio hardware in a publicly verified inverter. Yet the warning stands. So next time you drive past a solar-powered sign or plug in at a highway charger, remember, some things are not meant to be seen, but they may already be listening. This is an alert, a call for clarity, for regulation, for truth. Because when infrastructure becomes invisible surveillance, that's not only a technical risk, it's a threat to trust.
Well, what do you think of that?
That's actually a proven thing of Chinese spy technology embedding in other things that we buy from them. And so you have like a Tamagotchi on your wall or whatever, and it's
or
actually
a Furby.
Or a
You remember
Furby.
the Furbies?
Have you guys seen Toy Soldiers? That old cartoon movie. It was like a PG-13 Toy Soldiers cartoon movie back in the 90s. Maybe it's an 80s movie. Yeah, guys, this is like one of the movies most children were shown that grew up in the 90s. Toy Soldiers? Nobody? Anyway.
I heard the song by Eminem, but that's back when I was, before I was awake about who Eminem really was.
Yeah, just you wait, guys. Before long, we're going to have little action figures that have AI brains trying to murder people in their sleep.
You know what I was thinking about the other day that's kind of interesting? So the ALXEA, I don't like to say its name, but it is always listening, because if you think about it, when it wakes up, it's listening for its name. So it's always listening to you. And if you ask it if it's ever worked for the feds, it says, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. Or just goes, boop, 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 and shuts itself off. It's crazy. I heard that's how they caught Chris Watts. And if any of you know who Chris Watts is, one of the most evil people in the world, but they said that it was an ALXEA that was spying on him. But anyways.
Yeah. I mean, Toy Story is going to become a reality one day. I mean, it's the reason it was so, popular. It's because we know it's coming one day.
Now I've seen Toy Story, not Toy Soldiers, but
yeah, Toy Story also. But Toy Soldiers was like the PG-13 version of Toy Story from back in the 90s. Yeah. Anyways, later, guys. What's up next, Jeremiah? You got that one?
Is that all you up? Are you done?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I found this super interesting, this clip, and we don't have to play it all. If you guys get bored, you just be like, hey guys, hey, we're bored, and then I'll just shut it off or whatever. We can skip through it. But I found this very interesting. This clip that was talking about how, how like they're always trying to change white into black, like Ariel, and trying to make her black. Everything is trying to be black. So recent tests have shown that ancient Egyptians were in fact of European descent, kind of. So check this out.
Here on the Nile, the truth about Egyptian mummies. Egypt, land of pyramids, temples, and kings who thought marrying their sisters was the fast track to good genetics. Out of it came mummies, thousands of them, preserved like jerky for eternity. And when archaeologists unwrapped the mummies, what did they find? Not sub-Saharan princes, redheads, blondes, Ramesses. The second himself, the great conqueror, turns out to have been a ginger. Basically Eric the Red with a war chariot. Other mummies show the same. Fair hair, Mediterranean features, Near Eastern profiles. But today's myth makers can't leave it there. The Egyptians were black, they shout. We was pharaohs. Netflix TV shows like Queen Cleopatra in their African Queens series line up with Afrocentric dreamers to tell us the Valley of the Kings was basically Harlem on the Nile. The pyramids, DIY projects from sub-Saharan Africa. Cleopatra, a Nubian queen. Tutankhamun, probably the first rapper. Now here's what the boring, racist little thing called evidence says. A 2017 DNA study of 90 mummies shows ancient Egyptians clustered with the Levant, Anatolia, and Europe, with less sub-Saharan ancestry than modern Egyptians. The first ever complete Old Kingdom genome, published in Nature this year, was 78% North African, 22% Mesopotamian, Y haplogroup, E1b1b, 0 sub-Saharan profile. Rosalie David's Manchester project confirmed it. Mediterranean traits, Near Eastern features, red and blonde hair. Over and over again. So where do the black pharaohs come in? From Nubia, south of Egypt. The Kushite 25th dynasty marched in during the 8th century BC, ruled for about 100 years, and then left. Outsiders, buried in Nubia, not Egypt. To pretend that makes all of ancient Egypt sub-Saharan is like claiming Britain was permanently Pakistani because you've got a curry house at the end of your street. And when the Greeks arrived, things got even less African. Alexander conquered, the Ptolemies took over, and for 3 centuries Egypt was run by Macedonian inbreds who spoke Greek and married their sisters until their family tree looked like a circle. But hey, according to some insecure people, we was pharaohs. The Great Tudor Diversity Hoax. Once upon a time, in the Golden...
I will say that I don't think this guy is a believer, so just keep that in mind when watching.
Golden Age of England, when Henry VIII was chopping off wives' heads like it was a weekend hobby, and Elizabeth I was turning a small island into the envy of Europe, there were the Tudors, pale-faced monarchs painted into history. That's the story you'd think everybody knew. But no, enter the BBC, who never miss a chance to announce yet another hidden history. And then along comes Dr. Miranda Kaufman, the kind of left-wing historian who thinks she's rewriting history when really she's just wiping her bottom with parish registers and calling it scholarship. She spent years digging through dust and cobwebs, and what did she find? About as much diversity in Tudor England as you'll find in a BNP meeting. Kaufman herself hilariously admits, over the next few years, I found evidence of over 200 Africans living in Tudor England. They appear in parish registers, tax returns, household accounts, court records, wills, diaries, and letters. 200 Africans across an entire century, scattered thinly across a kingdom of 2 to 3 million people. 200, that's 0.01% of the population. Statistically invisible. A rounding error. They could all have caught the plague on a Tuesday, and the country wouldn't even have noticed. And then there's the title, Black Tudors. Not one of them was a Tudor. The Tudors were the royal dynasty. Henry VII, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I. Pale-skinned monarchs whose faces hang in every gallery. These Africans weren't Tudors. They weren't rulers. They weren't dukes or queens. At best, they were servants, porters, like or curiosities scribbled into...
Like his language is just like inflammatory language. Everything he's saying is just like an attack. That's the
It's
feeling.
like Cockney, I believe was what they call it, right?
Good. Well, no. Cockney, you wouldn't understand a word they said.
The margins of history.
Know what I mean?
Calling them Tudors
I thought
is like
I caught
calling
a
a plumber who
butterfly.
once fixed a leaky tap in Buckingham Palace a Windsor. But of course that's the point. Nobody's desperate to say they was Ottomans or was Mongols. No, it's always us. Because deep down, even the critics know the Tudors weren't just monarchs. They were the benchmark. Who wouldn't want to steal a piece of our glory? So we get the Jacques Francis tale, an African diver who helped salvage the Mary Rose. A brave enough story, sure, but in the modern retelling, this single diver somehow transforms Tudor England into a multicultural utopia.
So this is why facts are important, because if we didn't know facts, we would all be idiots, right? And that's why it's good to have discussions and agree to disagree, right?
Yeah, it's also the retelling of history, and sometimes when enough emotions are tethered to a narrative and you contradict that narrative, people emotionally react. People don't like when you take away something that they've put as one of their ancestral like things that they get to hold claim to. And I think I think topics like this are really interesting. I like apocryphal books like the Book of Jasher. It discusses some of these warring nations. You get a little bit more details of the Pharaoh that Joseph dealt with. Now, a lot of people don't like this 18th century text, but I think everything should be considered and at least read through to be kind of weighed in the preponderance of evidence, right? When you think of ancient scriptural texts or things describing the past, you have so much more that kind of speaks to the narrative that you can consider as you go, and so that's how you kind of sift through what's true and what's false. Is you look at what is being said about the event. You look at the logic behind, who, what, where, when, why, where did you hear this from? Was this a first-hand account, second-hand account? And, this is something we can always apply better in our day-to-day, sifting through media, because it's AI lies everywhere. So being well-sourced is so important.
All right, people
and the
want me to
Black
keep it
Tudors
going.
gallery, one portrait. John Blank, the trumpeter. One man, one painting, recycled endlessly like he was the Duke of Norfolk himself. Beyond that, silence. No Afro-Tudor aristocracy, no portraits of black earls or duchesses, because they didn't exist. And so, with a kingdom of millions ruled by pale Tudor monarchs, remembered for its brilliance and swagger, and with a modern myth that twists a handful of curiosities into
You
a
guys
fairy
remember
tale
Hamilton,
of diversity.
the black retelling
Next time,
of Alexander
someone
Hamilton?
insists the Tudors were black.
I'm pretty
Just
sure he wouldn't
remind
approve
them
of,
there were more
approved
lepers
of
than
that.
Africans in Tudor
Yeah, I
England.
think he's
But
making
hey,
a very
according to
strong
the
point that we need to be
we
very
was
clear on the
Tudors.
white history.
The
You know what I
Messiah
mean?
was a rabbi, not a Rasta. Jesus of
Yeah.
Nazareth, if he existed
So I don't
at
know if I
all,
want to play this part.
royalty. Apparently, in modern
is he-
academia,
Oh,
absence of evidence.
it was about
Ashton talks
Jesus.
utter nonsense.
Well,
practice.
yeah.
His mother, Maria Magdalena, a Rhineland woman from a respectable German family. His grandfather, Ludwig, a Flemish bass singer and
Opa, do you know
Kapellmeister
about this?
from Mechelen. That's in the Duchy of Brabant, in
Nope.
what is now Belgium. Beethoven's family were from Brabant in the Flemish Low Countries.
I just know
His
about
grandfather,
Mozart and,
Ludwig, had come from Mechelen
and my
to Bonn.
relative Carl Maria von Weber.
Yeah, I can leave a in the description. I don't want to play this whole clip unless you guys really like it, and then I'll do a histories, mysteries, and I'll find more stuff about this particular topic. But it kind of gets kind of blasphemy-ish because he says a couple things that I don't agree with. So I wanted to skip it there. But I mean, what are your thoughts about all that, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is how history is used to push political and current agendas. And really, history is just history. I think we shouldn't hide from our history. I think if there's something that helps people prove and understand what happened in the past, we shouldn't cover it up. We shouldn't change the truth of how things were. I think people use all sorts of things to push ideologies and to make something in the past influence something in the present. And you know, that's kind of what I'm getting out of what he's showing is, you know, we've had this in recent years, definitely and under previous presidential administrations.
Yep.
Just this.
Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Now, I don't know what famous person said that, but I very much agree with that statement. I don't know who said it, but I like that saying because it's true. I mean, it's 100% true. Any thoughts, Opa?
No, it's y'all said it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here for the live. I think that's all of our clips for today's live stream, but we'll be back here on Friday, 4:44 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll be putting out the lineup probably before then, right, Jake?
Yeah. Hopefully we will have a schedule of speakers and kind of the series of events, and then you guys can get your head wrapped around what the day will look like at Truthicon.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you on Friday at 4:44. And adios. Something huge is coming. We're building the world's largest truther convention. It's called TrutherCon.
This is the place where truthers unite to explore knowledge, ask tough questions, to challenge the mainstream narrative.
But it isn't just a convention. It's a movement for free thought, open discussion, and the right to question everything.
We are bringing in some of the biggest names of the truther community, so expect deep discussions, mind-blowing revelations, and connections with like-minded truth seekers.
If you feel like the truth is being hidden from you, this is where you need to be.
And the best part, it's 100% grassroots, built by truthers for truthers, straight from our Skiba News Nation family. TrutherCon will be a massive networking event. I believe this is going to be the most exciting truther event ever.
October 2025 in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there.